Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Crypto Current. Your host here, Richard Carthon. And today I got a very special guest that is working on projects with really cool drops that I'm excited to learn more about. We have Tommaso Sandretto, who's the CRO of BCL, which stands for Blockchain Creative Labs. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Richard. How are you?
Man, I'm great. No problem. The new year is starting off pretty strong with some bullish momentum. So that's always encouraging. And it's also cool to see as much liveliness come back to the various other verticals of the market too. So I know I'm excited for that. And some big conferences coming up like ETH Denver, South by Southwest, Outer Edge LA, all these others. So pretty exciting times. But let's dive in to learn more about you. Let's first learn some background. Can you give us some background on yourself?
Thank you for asking. I'm a old school investment banker by training. So I come from the investment banking world in London, then moved to New York, moved into more physical assets and currency. So I did a lot of real estate development in the States. And then, as a true finance passionate person, started diving into DeFi and started diving in all the possibilities that cryptography actually brought to my space. And then that space kept on becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and my interest grew, and got connected with some of the management team at Fox, and they mentioned they were about to launch this new venture in blockchain called Blockchain Creative Labs, and they needed somebody with my skill set, and then that was about over a year and a half ago. We launched the company officially at South by Southwest last year, and since then we haven't stopped. We've done all sorts of drops, all sorts of changes, all sorts of incredible development in the space. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I mean, wow! Talk about an interesting time to launch and to still be able to come out and have some really cool. Some initial successes even through the market of where it was at the time. But let's dive a little bit deeper into you work in the traditional finance world. You start developing all these skill sets. What was that first introduction to the world of blockchain and crypto?
Oh, wow. It was an old company, one of the OG DeFi company called SNX Synthetics. That's where I started diving into the space. I had a couple of friends that were, the first round. They've been rugged in the space for like 5, 7, 8 years, which is probably as way back as you can go. And I remember them walking me through, what DeFi was, or of cryptography, what the opportunity that there was. And I was always like pushing it back and not really paying a lot of attention. And then they walked me through what synthetics could do. And so I got really excited about the space and started diving in and got my MetaMask and got wallets and understanding, embracing the, frictionless freedom concept. I never looked back since. And then after that, the evolution into NFTs was very obvious for a lot of us. And then the world kind of opened. And I think that, we're just at such early times still in terms of adoptions and what we can do with the technology. So,
yeah,
that was my hook. My DeFi was my hook.
Yeah, and for some people, I think, especially coming from the traditional finance world, it starts to like really sink into you and like make you a little bit more passionate. I come from traditional finance as well, and first smart contracts like blew my mind. And then as I learned about DeFi, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this resonates. Let's dive deeper into this. Let's find a way to be able to work in this. And so you get brought on to BCL. Blockchain Creative Labs. You launched at South by Southwest last year, and since then you have had a ton of drops. Just to name a few, you had the WWE Moonsaults, you had Maskverse, and you also even have the USFL, which is going on right now. Can you tell us a little bit more about these and other drops that people might be familiar with?
Yeah, I mean, I would start from probably our biggest piece of IP, which is Cropopolis. Cropopolis is a Dan Harmon show, co-creator of Rick and Morty. And he's built this incredible story in ancient Greece of a node family trying to figure out how to live together and how not to basically kill each other. And we created a whole world around it. It was kind of the perfect storm. We created a whole wrapper around a collection of NFTs. They give you access to never seen and never had the opportunity animatics, behind the scenes, connection with the creator. We organized an awesome event in New York with a pre-screening of the first episode for owners. So really catering to the fans. So we're very much focused on being part of Fox. We're really focused at creating a bigger and better connection with the fans. We're not really here to speculate. We're not really here to do any sort of, asset versus investment type of role. Our role is really creating the fan experience, the ultimate fan experience, and how can we leverage this technology and bring it and help basically the fans get into the space. So Cropopolis is fantastic. USFL is a unique opportunity as well because it's really merging sports and technology. So with every single season pass holders, now you get a team token. The team token allows you to do things that you would never be able to do at the NFL. Hence, go courtside, field side, and for the kickoff, and meet and greet your stars, and vote on the best ones of the game. So we're really trying to gamify the concept as well with USFL. So for every different piece of IP, we have a little sliver, a different interpretation on how we can use this technology. We have a bigger plan coming up as a roll-up of everything that we're doing, but for now we can't discuss that. But it's definitely such a unique way to interact, like with your fans directly, and letting them touch the IP more and have a sense of ownership of it.
Oh, definitely. Just to talk about Cropopolis for a second, like I'm a huge Rick and Morty fan, and when this dropped, I was watching it pretty closely, and it's been really cool to see how that world's been developing over time, as well as just looking at the USFL and as you were saying, being able to have some really cool added features, like being able to go field side, being able to have some one-on-one time and do some of these unique experiences. I really do think this is an amazing use case that could be brought to other major leagues that are out there by showcasing not just the desire for this, but the marketplace that also exists in this as well, which I think is really cool. How, as y'all have been now doing a lot of these different types of drops, having a lot of different types of use cases, what do you think have been some of the biggest takeaways in your first year of doing some of these creative types of launches?
I think everybody in the space has the same feelings and opinions. The ecosystem is very small, right? The NFT fan base is very small. And so it's very rich of speculators and investors, and it's not very rich of, call it, leisure owners and fan owners. So it really it's going to, that's the core of our mission, is really trying to extend the size and the audience and make the tent as big as possible and make the experience accessible to everybody. So it's not to anyone who has already the Ethereum or Polygon or Matic on their wallets. It's about how do we create an experience that is an end-to-end experience that is seamless, it's easy, it's the more and more I realize that Web3 should really be something that is very behind the scenes and enhances the experience publicly. Not having to explain to everybody what Web3 is, makes the job a lot easier. And the technology behind it makes it a lot easier. I don't know you, but you're a TradFi guy. You didn't know how this streaming service that you're using right now for this podcast worked until you had to get into it and learn about it, because you didn't care as long as it produces, as long as it does what the experience that you want, or the television on Netflix, or how does IPFS or AWS service, or all this stuff. So unless you were part of the space, you weren't. It wasn't part of your daily life or interest. And so we can't pretend that every single fan of our IP dives as deep as we do in the space, So it's very difficult because we have to take a step back and just be like, what seems obvious to us is really not obvious to the fans. So we have to spend time to step back, and actually we created a whole bubble of friends and family and testing bench that do not have any sort of experience in the space, so that they can go through what we're trying to build. And if they can do it perfectly, that's fine. So we always go back to our parents and all of the people we can around to make sure that they can get it done as quickly as we would like them to. So that's definitely learning number one. And learning number two is really about how to present the product for what it is and not for what it's not. One of the biggest examples is the Cropopolis drops that we had. And we had a ton of excitement about it. We dropped 10,000 PFPs and in connection with the show, but the show still has to launch, right? And so all of a sudden, like when we on mint day, we had this rush of fans that we thought were fans. We're so excited. Then all of a sudden, all of our analytics were fully skewed and all over the place with 30% from Nigeria, 40% from somewhere in Asia. And we were like, that's so weird. That really doesn't sound like the Rick and Morty or potential animation fans. And then basically through time, we realized that those were mostly speculators coming to the place. And then over the past basically nearly 6 months, we've been basically flushing out all the speculators and onboarding real fans that are engaging with us on a daily basis. They're engaging with the creating team on a daily basis. They're excited about something like, we launched something called the Keys to Cropopolis. This is the first time that any show actually lets you be part of the show. So, if you wanted to be part of the show, you could basically go through trivia questions, and allows you to win a Creek to Cropopolis, which basically you would send us a picture or come see us. We would design you and make you part of the season finale, and you would be in the show. And then your character, you can only imagine what happens with your character going forward. It becomes your own, and then you can develop it how you want, or they keep on developing it with us. And those are the experience we are close to. We're not really close to the buying and selling, but it's a habit for the industry. So
yeah. So the two takeaways. The first is the importance of the community building and what you're building, making sure that it's easy enough that anybody can pick it up and understand what's going on, which is challenging. Yep. Creating this technology is its own can of worms, and it's proving to be difficult in its own right. But then to be able to distill it down to your greater audience that most of the world is still in, which is like the Web 2. How do you start making like the Web 2.5 and then eventually bridge them over into the 3? And then for the second point of anytime you do a drop, unfortunately, you're going to deal with some speculators, and they don't necessarily value what you're trying to build as a community as much as your true hardcore fans. And so it's how do you get like a good blend of the two, but hopefully over time really start to get some of those like diehard fans into the ecosystem. And as you start to get those, you start to really see the benefits of stronger community and people really giving great feedback and really being more active in that world that you're trying to create.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, through learning those things, I'm sure there is a lot more to come within the BCL lineup and some other cool things. And one of them that I kind of mentioned that I kind of want to dive into just a little bit more is the Mask Verse. So the Mask is one of those shows that kind of came and took the world by storm here in the States, and has been really interesting to see evolve over time. What was the concept around Mask Verse?
So we just relaunched a new experience for the 9th season. So we call it, and it's really as integrated in the show as possible. So we went through we have a loyalty pass that you can claim for free, and you basically are scored based on your vote. So you can vote every episode. And if you win, if you actually get every single time you win you select the right character, you basically get awarded some sort of stars or loyalty component. And if you get to the end, then there's going to be some sort of prizes or involvement into the show in the following season. Oops, spoiler. But number one. And number two is all the token video content that we built. So we actually created a behind the scenes, a confession room that has never been done before, that only the token holders actually have access to, where we actually ask, I think, every possible questions you could ever want to know about the characters, the persons, how we came about it. And again, this is to try to get closer to the characters and the fan base. Yeah. So those are the two main call it utilities, but also experiences, more experiences connected to the token drop.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the more active engagement where you can get people to be watching live as the episodes are releasing, and then by participating. And I know a lot of times people at home are just like, I could be a judge. I could be there. I could figure this out. Yeah. And now you're giving them that chance, and there's rewards for being correct. So increasing the engagement, giving that utility back to your hardcore fans. And again, just really making a really great community and an experience for these people who want to be part of this ecosystem. As we kind of like, go ahead.
No, one concept is that we kind of have a bit of responsibility in this, right? We're very blessed by having Fox Networks, Fox Broadcast behind us. So we are on the lower thirds on the number one show on television, and it's kind of a unique opportunity to really push forward with the space and actually onboard as many people as we can. So it's really a unique position for BCL and for Fox.
Absolutely. And I mean, again, the eyes are there, and you get to do a real life case study and get real feedback and make adjustments very quickly. It's a really cool use case. And I think y'all are in a really cool position to be able to learn a lot in a short amount of time and build something that can help move the ecosystem further and faster as we look at, mass adoption. As you kind of take a step back and you look at all of the world of Web3, there's a lot of interesting topics going on. And one of them is the kind of, I don't want to say the war, but let's call it the battle between Blur and OpenSea. So, what's your take on what's going on over there?
Wow, what a shame. Great question. But we're kind of saddened, or actually I am saddened by this war, because it really goes against the ethos of what Web3 is, or the reason why we are really participating in it. Having the concept of turning marketplaces into basically speculations. Not only the NFT projects, it started with NFT, it started with tokens, then it went to NFT projects, and now we're basically speculating on marketplaces by incentivizing users to create wash trades and fake sales to generate a non-existing volume just to claim token and enrich themselves. Meanwhile, you're destroying the work of companies that have been in the space for very long, and they've been trying to do the right thing, which is try to make it as easy and as friendly interface and UI that you can have to actually onboard as many people as you want in the space, just for pure profits, and it's saddened me that all the companies decided to so if that's the game, let's all go back to the game. And I'm like, wait, I thought that we were in this for the long term. I thought we were in this not for speculators. I thought we were on this because we're changing the world. It's like, we're not in this just to speculate. And so it's really not a healthy portion of our ecosystem right now. I hope it resolves sooner rather than later. And we can finally go back to trying to, onboard the public and make the tent bigger so we can all enjoy this and the spoils of this technology.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think we're starting to see, unfortunately, the ugly side of greed. And we need to, as you said, be creating spaces for the end user and not only just safe places, but great experiences for the masses as they come. And ultimately, these marketplaces, you're going to make your money. The fact that you're really trying to nickel and dime to, or even these people, like you said, who are creating this artificial volume just to increase their potential payout. Not great, but ultimately, I think we're going to get past this. I think there's going to be a lot of lessons that are going to be taken away from this moment, especially while volumes are lower than they were, let's call it 2 years ago. And I think when we come on the other side of this, we're going to be in a much better place as an industry. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the regulators, I mean, this is going to be right, left, and center of what the regulators are thinking these days, especially that they are, I feel like they are now full time on crypto and on NFTs and on blockchain space, as you know better than I do. And this is exactly the example of the wrong incentive that you need to put in place to show a regulator that this is a sophisticated and educated space instead of being the Wild West. So we are passengers, we're watchers. And us at BCL are extremely careful at doing everything that we do for the right reason that makes sense to us, and try not to take advantage of anybody.
Definitely. Well, that is just one great example of how things are going to evolve over time, and I think there's going to be even more. But a lot of this has to do with learning essential lessons. And on that subject, I always like to wrap up with a couple fun questions. And you've now been in this space for a while. You've now undergone the journey of BCL for the last year. With all the information and knowledge you have right now, if you could go impart 1 to 2 pieces of wisdom to yourself when you first started, what would you tell yourself?
Be patient and sleep more. Those are the only 2 things that I can tell you. Because it's I can't believe it's end of February, but it feels like it's end of June. And the team, I take this, and I can. It's not like I know, but all my teammates, work just as hard or harder than me, especially on the engineering side. It's a brutal space. It chews you up and it takes a lot away from our lives. But, it also gives you big rewards. But, getting a bit more sleep would be definitely a better place to be.
Yeah, I think that is a great point. Patience and sleeping more. To your point, people are working really hard. It's not a bear market, it's a builder's market. And as people are building right now, people are building frivolously. And sometimes we forget to take a moment to take a step back, breathe a little bit more, sleep a little bit more, take in a little bit of time to refresh your mind, just because you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't. There's only have so much runway. I only have so much time. So there's all this added stress. And I think this is just a really good a good time to remember to take a step, take a breath, and also make sure you're getting your sleep in. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I always think about it. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so it's a long way.
Oh, definitely. Well, Tommaso, thank you for all the amazing information. What is a final thought that you want to leave with all the listeners today?
Final thought is the entrance of all the large incumbent and customer-related companies in the space is such a pivotal moment that we are actually experiencing, that is going to drive what the future of the space looks like. So I think that we're just on the cusp. We're about to see major adoption, major drops, major marketplaces, new marketplaces coming online. And I think this is, stay tuned and let's make sure we all get there.
Definitely. Wagme, we're all going to make it. We're going to find a way. And exactly. I agree. I think there's some really cool things on the way. So thank you for that. For everyone listening, you can go to bcl.xyz to learn more information. But what are some other places that people can learn more about BCL?
Oh, you can learn on Twitter. We got a great Twitter account at BCL. We have also the Cropopolis Twitter handles. We have all the different projects that you'll find on our BCL Twitter. Then we have all specific Twitters as well. We are on Discord. We're basically everywhere where you can possibly ever find us.
Perfect. Well, Tommaso, thank you again for sharing all the amazing information. We really appreciated the conversation. And as always, for everyone listening, stay cryptocurrent.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Cryptocurrent. Cryptocurrent is a cryptocurrency and blockchain education platform that's bridging the gap between the curious newcomers who are just discovering the space and the thought leaders who are shaping its future. All opinions expressed by Richard Carthon, the Cryptocurrent team, and their guests on this show are exclusively their own opinions. This show and any other cryptocurrent production is exclusively for informational purposes.